The Ace Man's keeping busy. Why don't you join us for a live podcast in Irvine at the Irvine Improv on July 10th. And then 4 shows in Covina, California at the Laugh Factory Covina on July 11th and July 12th. Tickets for these and more shows are available at adamcarolla.com. Popping a bottle of champagne and a bottle of baby oil for Diddy. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the show. Get it on. Here with Ralph Pezzullo, back author, Great Chinese, I should say the Great Chinese Art Heist, Imperialism, Organized Crime, and Looting of China's Treasures. It's available on the 15th of this month, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's what's available now here. All right, 15th. I'm going to write that down. And then we'll talk about other books as well. Good to see you again, Ralph.
Great to see you.
Ralph's written, how many books you've written now?
I think over 30.
So for you, it's just full-time author. It's just
That's it.
misery kind of stuff, right? I mean, you get up, you you work like a roofer works,
right.
except
That's
for
right.
you
go to my
you
office.
type.
That's right. Yeah.
So all
and
different.
it's like an obsession.
Is
right?
it?
So when you finish one book, you think, all right, your wife says take a month off, and then the next day you're in your office again, another idea.
Yeah, let's talk about the wife and the month off. I realize women have a different relationship with work than men do.
True. Yeah.
And we keep trying to pretend like they're the same person, but they're fucking not.
I know.
We've been spending the last 50 years trying to convince women they're men and men they're women, and men should act like women and women should act more like men, and women are satisfied within their office and stuff. And it's just not the way it is.
It isn't the way it is.
And we have a different built-in sort of genetic code as it pertains to work.
This is true.
And then they have a different genetic code as it pertains to parenting, which is, I'm happy to watch fucking TV all Saturday and ignore my kids, They're not. And by the way, I'll ignore your kids as well. I'll ignore my kids, your kids.
Right. Any kid.
Any kid can be ignored by me.
Right.
And women are not wired that way.
No.
Okay, so there's a difference.
There is a difference. No, whenever I get in trouble that way, I start to I'm wondering why my wife doesn't approach work the way I do. Mm-hmm. And then I realize what you're saying is exactly true. They have a different relationship.
Yeah, and so the relationship in life gets sort of grafted on to the other person. It's kind of my theorem of like once in a blue moon you meet someone who doesn't like barbecue and you just go, oh, come on.
Yeah.
And they go, I don't like it. And you go, what the fuck's wrong with you? And they go, I don't like it. You like it.
Right.
You just don't know. Right. It's like you almost can't accept it.
That's right. Yeah.
And so women will say, like, what are you working so much for? Like, why don't you, and you work 11 days in a row now or something. And you just go, I don't mind it.
This is what I do.
I like it.
This is what I do. Yeah.
Well, not only that, I think for a man, it defines you.
I agree.
Women, it does not. Women work good.
Yeah.
And there are, and whenever you get into these discussions, someone will go, oh, my aunt ran Nabisco for 30 years. Okay, yes, some bitches are different. Okay, some.
Right.
Some.
Exceptions.
Yeah, it's like when you go, look, family, the black family needs a father to stay intact. And they go, I know a black kid went to Harvard and never met his dad. Okay, all right, good.
Right.
Then go fucking talk to the Nabisco chick about it. But I'm saying as a whole. In general, that's what I'm speaking. That's how I'm speaking. Women have a different relationship.
Absolutely.
And I wish... And it's a two-way street, but they need to understand that we're not the exact same species, and you have a different relationship with it.
It's with a lot of these things. People just have to acknowledge the reality. Like we've all had this experience. Let's just say, okay, there's nothing wrong with it. This is just the way it is.
Also, it's so funny. A million years ago, when we were starting in on a lot of this gender stuff, and it was sort of like, why do men build the bridges and build the skyscrapers and fight the wars and the women are home taking care of the kids? And I'd go, because that's the way it is.
Right.
You want to argue with what is?
We're conditioned. You're
going to argue with
programmed.
what is.
Right, exactly.
What do you think? Some big red-headed fat guy smoked a cigar in the sky and started pushing pieces around the chessboard?
Right.
No, it's the way it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why do female polar bears do this and the male polar bears?
Right.
It is.
No, in nature, you see this reflected all the time.
All day,
they have
every
their
day.
roles, and we study it, we observe it, and we accept it. But somehow, with human beings, it's like, no, we're gonna redefine everything.
You know what it is?
And
You know what it is?
Work.
You know what it is? I think I know what it is. I know. Also, they love it when they find something in nature that helps them. You know, they go like, a lot of panda bears are gay. You know, that's a thing.
They go both ways.
That's a thing. Yeah. And then the scary women, they go, in this world, the black widow spider kills its mate right after they mate. You know, and I go, okay, is that's good?
What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah, watch that.
We're not going out tonight.
But all right. So there's a lot of that. But
yeah.
Yes, you know what I think it is? I think that the greatest, it's like I was watching a commercial for Coke, and Coke runs this commercial, maybe Dawson or Andrew or somebody can find it. They run this commercial where like the chick goes into the bodega, or maybe it's a guy, and he gets a Coke can that's got his name on it. Yeah. They put names on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
wow.
some just say bro or buddy or something. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's my. And it's like, it's just corn syrup and
it's the
brown
same
dye
crap.
number 7.
Yeah.
And
Just
it's the
'cause it
same
has your name on
carbonated
it.
shit that's made nowhere.
Yeah.
And all you're doing is attacking your liver with it.
Right.
These are empty calories.
Right.
And the guy goes, oh, my name's Tim. And he starts reaching around. And then they're handing out and everyone's satisfied. And it's this weird quest to be special.
Yeah.
And so
identify
people,
Yeah.
Here's what people don't want to hear. You're just an organism. You're going to fucking die soon, and no one's going to remember you were here. And no one gives a fuck. Enjoy yourself, or not.
Yeah.
But either way, you're in the ground with everyone.
Right.
Everybody else you've ever known, you're gone,
right?
And no one will know you,
right?
And even if history does remember your name, they're going to remember you for like the wrong shit.
That's right. They'll get it all wrong.
Yeah,
they'll confuse you with somebody else.
Oh no, it'll be 1,000 books and 1,000 documentaries and 1,000 podcasts, and it'll be like, wait, was that the guy who got the DUI?
Right. That's right.
That'll be it.
That's right.
Then we'll be done.
That's right.
With you.
Yeah.
So there's this constant quest.
Yes.
To go. I'm different.
Right.
And that's a fight against nature. Because when you see nature, you step on a cockroach. That's not a special cockroach. It's just a cockroach. It's just cockroaches. We don't even think about it. You don't go, what's that going on personally with that cockroach?
There's a lot. We just snuff them out.
You just go, you're dead. Well, we're cockroaches too.
That's
so
right.
we're trying to define ourselves, and that's why we're getting a hairstyle or a new belt or our nails done in a way or something.
No, and you look back in history and look at some of these outfits and you just go, how did they come up with this, man? The wigs and the this, and it must have taken them, 4 hours to prepare to go out.
Well, I have a theory.
And they were all bald underneath, right?
Oh, yeah.
George Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The women I have a theory about. I theorized that I have a modern theory. I have unpopular theories, but it doesn't mean they're not correct. They're always correct. They're just unpopular. Right. A part of the reason why they're unpopular is because they are correct.
Right.
And it angers people because they know it's like you could say to Dr. Drew, oh, you're so lazy, you never do anything, and he just would laugh because it doesn't. But you say it to a guy on the sofa in his bathrobe at noon, and he gets really
exactly.
He feels it, right?
How dare you?
Yeah. Oh, we have the Coca-Cola commercial, and then I'll tell you my theory, my women's dress theory. Yeah, it's a young woman. She's always in a. First off, I don't know who gets so excited about soft drinks. Like, I could get excited about a martini or a good IPA. But she goes in and she's looking for soda with her name and her friend's name so they can enjoy the soda.
Oh, my God. Oh, look at
there's
this.
Sam. Oh, there's Ben. Oh, there's Olivia.
This is a new thing, huh?
This is a big deal. Well, people are such insane narcissists that they need soda with their name on it.
Wow. And how about they don't make a Ralph?
No Ralph.
There's no Ralph.
There's nobody under 60 that's named Ralph.
God, that's I could sue them, I guess.
Yeah. They should sue them for not having a Ralph. Then they get excited, and then they see their friends that are always
friends.
Yeah, because
God.
You always see, when you go to the park,
to see what idiots they think of us as, right? That this is going to work, that we're going to...
I always like that there's a Hispanic chick, an Asian dude, and a black dude. I've never seen that coupling at a park, ever. Unless one was the two of them were beating the shit out of the other.
That'd be a good commercial.
I've seen the black and the Hispanic beating the shit out of the Asian, but I've not really seen them all just hanging around drinking soda with their name on it.
No.
By the way, if you gave me an RC Cola or Shasta, I was good back in the day. Didn't have to say Adam.
That's right.
Maybe we need to blame Starbucks for this. They're writing everyone's name.
Really? Yeah.
Well,
maybe
started
that's where they got the idea. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's my thought with dress.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think my unpopular theory is that guys historically always knew women were little nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came up with things like, that's not very ladylike.
Yeah.
A lady would never raise her voice that way. And a lady would never do this and act that way, right?
Right.
And because we understood they had the potential to be fucking nuts. And somebody figured it out. So we even came up with a dress, like even the corset.
Right.
I'm
torture.
whalebone, suck it in.
Oh my God.
It was invented by a man so women would get out of breath immediately.
Right. Well,
like
all the designers are gay men. You
even
that.
back in the day.
Even back in the day.
You can't be...
They all hate women.
You can't be mouthy and bitchy with a corset on. You run out of breath like immediately. You can't share opinions.
They used to faint all the
they'd
time.
get the vapors, and they'd have to
That's
fan themselves. So you do a real tight corset, then you put those real high boot heels on with the boots that lace all the way in, a bonnet and everything.
All they can do is
all the
make
shit.
little mincing steps.
Right, and then you go, you guys just go sit in the parlor and fan yourself.
Right.
We're going to drink brandy and talk over here. We're going to shut the door.
Gamble.
Yeah, smoke cigars. We're going to shut the door. Because we knew, but now...
Yeah.
We let women off the leash, and we went, here's some sweatpants, go to the airport, and start fucking throwing haymakers. Like, go fight.
They're
go
doing
fucking
it.
fight.
They're doing it now.
We said to women, don't listen to men.
Yeah.
Don't listen to cops.
Yeah.
Don't listen to airport staff. Don't listen to anybody.
That's getting out of control.
You just fucking do what you want to do. And by the way, woman, if you're feeling it, that's your truth.
That's right.
If you feel like you should be on this flight, even though you're an hour late and they close the door, then that's your truth. And if that person behind the counter is telling you you can't be on that flight, then fucking ball up your fist. Just throw it at it. You can't do that shit in a corset.
Right. No, you can't. No. What's going on with like women's basketball? They're always
fucking
fighting all the time.
I have told everybody a million times, women are inherently more aggressive physically and a little more prone to violence than men, inherently. And everyone laughs me out of the room every time. And I go, no, listen. First off, men grow up doing rough and tumble play, and we know how to regulate.
Right.
I mean...
And we know the consequences, too.
Yeah,
right.
All I did was wrestle with my friends.
Yeah.
And every single one of them was, if I went another 6%, the person would have been choked out and died.
Right.
Instead, it was a headlock, and I was throwing them around the room.
Right.
And every once in a while, someone get a dislocated shoulder or something. But we're right in there with that rough and tumble play. But you knew right where to stop. Women don't do that, so they have trouble regulating.
Yeah.
But also a simple experiment, a simple thought experiment, Ralph.
Yeah.
For men. And I go, no, women are more prone to sort of reactive violence.
Yeah.
And they go, huh? Men are violent. I go, no, women are. I go, okay, anyone's ever been with a woman, you're in the kitchen, you're doing what you're doing over the stove, making some bacon or something.
Yeah.
You step back and you step on her foot. What happens? Hand sails out and smacks you. There's not a thought. There's not a discussion. It's like a connection from the top of their foot to their hand.
That's
hand flies out.
Well, that reminds me.
Woman steps on your foot. Does your hand, you punch her?
No. One time I was walking down 42nd Street. It was evening. This is like 20 years ago with my wife. And a guy comes running across 42nd Street, and he's looking behind him. He obviously had recently robbed somebody and was looking to see if he was being chased. And he doesn't see us, and I'm near the curb, and he passes me, and he slams right into my wife, then my girlfriend. She goes down. He falls down. She reaches up and she punches him with all of her might in his throat.
Right.
And the guy is like, oh, like he can't breathe.
Right.
And I'm like, this guy's like a criminal. You just punched him in the throat, and the guy's like, why did you do that? I can't breathe. And it was just like an instinctive thing, right?
Right. So you would have to, as a male, if the woman steps on your foot in the kitchen, you do a split-second calculation of what punching her would do.
Exactly.
What would be the
Exactly.
What would happen down the road if
consequences.
You punch her? Consequences. Well, you could hurt her.
Right.
She could be pissed for the whole weekend. You could never get another blowjob as long as you lived. You know what I mean? It's all these calculations. For them, it's literally like a mechanical connection. It's like there's a push rod from their foot to their arm. Just goes sailing. Sailing out, right?
Consequences be damned.
And your girlfriend at the time, now wife, hand just
smacked him right in the throat.
And she didn't even know what was going on.
No.
Something happened and she reacted.
And I had to explain to the guy because he was like, well, she hurt me. And I'm like, well, dude, you ran across the street.
Right. Women's basketball is 10 times more violent than men's basketball.
I mean, I don't watch it, but I notice you see these fights on YouTube and so on.
We told them, we spoon-fed women a steady diet. And by the way, sorry for taking a turn for the racial, but especially black women, we said nobody tells you what to do. You do what you want. You don't listen to anyone.
Right.
If you feel this, you got to be, this is your truth.
Sassy,
this is your whatever. You do whatever you want.
Yourself.
No regulation.
Right.
Well, okay. Now they're on the court and they're all fucking punching each other because they're not able to regulate themselves.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's interesting.
All right. So women aren't the same as men.
Well, that's, I think, obvious to anyone who has been in a relationship with a woman.
I know, and what I'm basically trying to say is understand that work is men have a different relationship with it.
Yes.
And I think it's much more important to men. It's also a weird thing. Like, that doesn't make you better or worse.
No.
It's just saying it's a different relationship.
Exactly. We're different, which is a good thing, right?
Well, it's good.
You don't want every one of your friends to be like you, Well,
it's not only that. There's a utilitarian version of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is like, I'm a journeyman carpenter, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you're married to me, because I fucking fix everything, build everything, and do everything. I can do any of it. Mm-hmm. I'm not much good at making omelets. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, we can work a little barter out here.
I'll fix everything. You make the omelets. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like those great caper movies where they go, all right, we need a wheelman.
Yeah.
We need a demolition guy. They don't go, we need 5 knife throwers. They go, we need a wheel. We don't need 5-second story guys and no wheelman.
Right.
We need a wheelman and a second.
And you don't need 5 wheelmen, right?
No. You got a fire truck or something. That's good. You're assembling the gang.
Sure.
I don't.
Well, every caper movie, sure. You've got the assembly scenes, right, where they go, okay, this guy's really good at this, and this guy, oh man, he drives, he's a maniac, Yeah.
It is sort of, as someone who creates this stuff like you do, it is kind of insane that the wheelman carried over into the modern era with GPS and helicopters and radios and stuff. Like, I get the 50s wheelman with the banjo picking, and the guy hits the country road and he goes, I'm just going to shut the lights off.
Now we're going to have this specialist who's quick with his fingers on his
There are many movies where the guy's just a getaway driver, and it's like, they have drones and telephones and shit. Like, they don't have to catch you. They'll just phone ahead to the next county, and then
that's right. They're
tracking
you.
It's weird that
baby.
Your ability to drive is getting you.
Right.
I don't think it'd be worth. I don't think if someone said, "Look, Adam, you can rob a bank in downtown," I'd be like, yeah, well, I'm going to get caught.
Yeah.
But not if there's a guy who could really drive. I feel like, I don't feel like I'm
helicopter?
They have a helicopter. It's going to outdrive the helicopter.
Yeah.
If the answer's no, then I think we're good.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess there's still bank robbers who haven't figured that out. So,
well, there's, I mean, Biggie Smalls got executed in front of the Peterson Museum.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of Wilshire and
I know.
right in the middle of the Miracle Mile.
Right.
That guy just,
yeah.
They had a good wheelman.
I guess so.
And they didn't need the second story guy. That's a modern time, middle, working hours. I mean, busy.
And wasn't it? It was like an event. So there were people
it was like
there.
and also middle of Wilshire. It's just the middle of Wilshire. You're not out in the sticks.
Right. I don't know.
That was a weird one, right?
Yeah, very weird. A lot of theories about what happened there. Yeah.
Lots of theories too.
Always theories.
So you get up and you write.
Yes. Yeah. So I love stories and figuring out, trying to piece things together. So in this case, you remember Doug Lau? He was on your show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Doug tells me about these heists that have been going on in Europe. And he said, Ralph, you should look into this. So it starts in Stockholm, August 10th, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Really elaborately planned. A bunch of guys get a speedboat. They speed up to this property that is part of the royal palace of Sweden. They get out, they get on mopeds, they go to this museum that's on the property. They break into the museum. They're in for like 5 minutes, and they steal like a couple dozen Chinese artifacts. The police show up, and they're like, "What?" Because you when you steal something like a rare artifact, you can't sell it like on the open market,
right?
So they're like, and they also left other just as valuable artifacts there. And then that was the first, and there were a series of these break-ins. There were over a dozen in other museums in Europe. And so I'm like, okay, I want to look into this. And then I also want to, and it was clear that some of these artifacts were showing up back in China. So it was clear that whoever commissioned the crimes were Chinese. And then I'm going like, the Chinese have this like very antagonistic attitude towards the West, right? And I'm going. I've always been curious, like why? Why do they? Why do they violate IPs, right? Why do they? Like I had a book that was printed in China, right? And my agent told me like, oh, you'll sell a lot of books, but you'll never see any money. And I'm like, what? Why? Why are they this way? So I look back and I start to see that there's a connection between these robberies and the looting of the old summer palace in Beijing at the end of the Second Opium War.
What year was that?
That was 1860. So what happened was the British and the French started wanting to trade with the Chinese in the 18th century, and they sent a delegation to China. China was the biggest empire in the world at that point. Very peaceful, got along well with their neighbors, very advanced in terms of technology and so on and so forth. And they sent this delegation to Peking to the emperor and showed them all the mirrors and stuff that they had and so on. And the Chinese are like, you know what? We're not interested. We don't want any of this stuff. We're good. But the British wanted to trade with the Chinese. So the British started importing Chinese silk, Chinese porcelain, and also tea. And the British became addicted to tea. It became like a huge phenomena in Britain.
Oh,
it
so that's
still
the
exists,
tea time, right?
Right? And then what happened after that, they developed this huge trade deficit. So the British are going like, well, we can't sustain this trade with China. They don't want any of our stuff.
Right.
So, hey, we grow opium in India, which is another of our colonies. Let's try it. let's try shipping opium to China. And it turns out that the Chinese have a weakness for opium, like the American Indians have for alcohol.
Yeah. There are genetic things.
Chemical.
Well,
whatever.
it's like we're talking. It's a funny thing. We're just talking about women. You know, there's differences. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I've talked to Dr. Drew about this
Yeah.
a million times. There's certain Asian cultures, like when they drink, they get flush. You know,
Right.
It's a
Right.
thing. And
Right.
then
and
others
they notice it and they talk about it and they have words for it and so on and so forth, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird thing because I don't know why, but Robert Kennedy Jr. was like up there, and he was given talking about vaccines, and he was like in front of Congress or something, and he goes, "Hey, well, listen, we're giving out these vaccines to everybody, like everyone needs it, but if you're African American, you don't need it because you don't have the enzyme for it or whatever.
Right.
And if you're Ashkenazi Jew, you don't. And then of course the black chick is like, "What are you talking about, Willis?" And he's like, "Well, you don't need it.
Right.
It's like a thing. You're saying I'm not good enough." It's like, "Oh, shut the fuck up, everybody.
I'm saying you don't need it.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it.
Right,
I don't
right.
know.
It's good. You're lucky.
There's a study. He's
Right.
just repeating it.
Right.
Do I have to get into this with everybody all the time? There's
Yeah.
differences.
That poor guy, man.
That poor guy. He's got to fucking try to talk to dumb people all day long.
He's trying to help, and they're just
I
giving
know.
him shit about
I know.
everything.
It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
very telling to see
Oh, yeah.
A, how fucking dumb they are, and B, where their heads are at.
Oh,
Like
it's
this
scary.
guy's trying to get fucking. He's trying to get your kids not to drink Red Bull for free with Snap. Okay, and you're angry now?
Or to leave dyes out of
Yes.
certain drinks that we know cause cancer. Yeah,
Yes.
but we like the red stuff.
No,
But-
I don't know. No, it's not the red stuff. It's the orange man. That's who they don't like, and they
that's
can't.
right.
They can't do
Anything
it.
associated.
They can't do it.
Yeah,
they can't
yeah,
do
yeah,
it. So, sorry. So
Yeah.
this.
So basically, what happens is that the Chinese, so they become addicted to opium. At a certain point, there's almost 20% of the whole population is addicted to opium.
What is Britain doing with opium in India?
Well, it's a colony.
You're right.
It's
They're
another
growing
colony,
it, but
and they're growing it, and they're consuming it in England. There was a period of time when it was very popular in England, and they're thinking,
Is there a stigma attached to it?
not initially. Initially, it was kind of like upper society people would smoke opium, and then they realized how addictive it was, and then there became a stigma attached.
And where does snuff fall into this? Is it just
Snuff
tobacco?
snuff is more tobacco. Yeah.
Is snuff now? Everyone's got those Zin pouches now and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Is
Yeah.
that just basically modern snuff?
Yeah, I think
just,
so.
You're just
It's
pushing it under your lip instead
That's
of
right.
your
and,
nose.
and you get mouth cancer, and it's not
but
good.
snuff, I miss snuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're
so
addicted to 20%.
20% of the population. So the emperor goes, "Hey, no more opium.
Right.
We're not going to allow. We're not allowing it into our country.
Right.
Illegal." And the British are like, "No, you can't do that." They fight 2 wars to force the Chinese to open their ports to opium. These are called the Opium Wars.
Right.
And during the last Opium War, to really put a point on it, they sack the Versailles of China, which is called the Old Summer Palace. It's outside of Beijing.
Is this 1860?
This is
Thereabouts?
1860. This is 1860.
Just where does Britain sail from Britain to China?
Yes, they send a fleet. They go to China. Their weapons. The Chinese are basically kind of pacific at that point. They're not really at war. Or, they don't have enemies because they control all of Asia. So they're not prepared when the British and the French show up with their gunboats and so on. They just go right through them, and to put a point on it, they sack this famous. It's like sacking Versailles, and this palace is just apparently beyond Versailles. It had hundreds of museums, and all the great artwork was collected there. And they just ransacked the place. They let their troops run wild, grab whatever they wanted, and they shipped it all back to Europe. So this is what the Chinese currently are stealing back from museums in Europe. And they're commissioning triad gangs to work with local gangs, and they hire like the Rothscale Rovers, who are travelers from Ireland. They were hired by a triad gang in the UK to break into a bunch of museums and steal stuff. And it all goes back, the Chinese call it the century of humiliation. So for them, from 1860 to 1960, they have just been continually humiliated by the West. They were, one war after another. The West, basically ran China. They ran them economically. They took over their customs houses and all this kind of stuff. So now, what they're doing with us, they have a campaign in China run by the Communist Party. It's called Never Forget Humiliation.
Really?
And they have museums and centers all over the country. They teach this to their school children. This is a big part of their propaganda. So it's like, we can never be weak.
Right. And
we can never trust the West. And the way to even the score is to undermine the West. There's something called a book. There's a book written by two Chinese strategists called Unrestricted Warfare, and they lay out the philosophy of the Chinese government, and which is that we're not going to ever confront the United States or the West face to face. It's all going to be undermined. We're gonna corrupt their government. We're going to corrupt. We're going to steal stuff. We're going to undermine them any way we can, which is what they're and fentanyl is part of it. So we know that fentanyl is illegal in China, but they don't produce fentanyl anymore in China because we've called them on it so many times. Yeah. So they send the chemicals that make fentanyl to Mexico, and they have plants in Mexico. And every time Trump meets with Xi Jinping, he says, "Hey, cut it out with the chemicals coming across making the fentanyl."
Right.
And he always goes, "Oh, yes, yes, yes," and they keep doing it.
Yes.
And so we have 100,000 people at least dying a year of fentanyl poisoning, and it's directly as a result of this unrestricted warfare that so it all goes back to this, our treatment of the Chinese. And that's what the book is about.
Well, it's interesting because then you kind of go COVID. But the thing that's interesting about our relationship with China is half this country, meaning the Democrats, are fighting on behalf of China.
Yeah, well,
it's like a weird thing. We had COVID.
Yeah.
And Trump was trying to call the Chinese virus and stuff like that, and CNN was going out of their mind.
Right.
And then he was saying came from a lab, and they said it came from a wet market. And then also recently, I think something just came out where China was trying to sort of corrupt the election, and Ray from the FBI and whoever they all denied it. They tried to cover it up. So it's not only what China's doing, it's for some reason our own FBI, CIA, CNN, and MSNBC going to bat for China.
Well, we've been corrupted from within. There's no question about it.
We have to be, because why else why is the FBI fighting
and
for
it's
China?
way more advanced than people realize. And part of it has to do with our corporations. Because what happened was when China finally opened up in the 90s, China was a source of cheap labor, right, for companies. Like I have a friend, a guy I play tennis with. He has a printing press. His family has big printing presses in Kentucky. And he was talking to me. We were shooting the shit one day, and he's telling me about how he just came back from China, and he's, what it costs to print, magazines or books. It's like a 20th of what it costs because they have these big presses in China. And I'm like, well, what happened to the people in Kentucky, in this town that you grew up in and your grandfather's from, they're probably all out of business. And he's like, yeah, well, that's what happens. But and I said, and what are you paying the people in China? Like $1 a day? And he's kind of like, yeah, So our business and our banks have kind of sold out to China because
look, as anyone who's ever been involved with an endeavor of this kind, everyone thinks they have the moral high ground, but you go, look, we got to make up a bunch of baseball hats and then we'll sell them on the internet. I'll sell them on our website, put our show name on it. And they go, well, you can make them in Culver City, but it's going to be about $13 a unit, or we can make them in China and it's $4 a unit. And you go, how much for China again? And then you go, all right, well, let's get a couple of crates.
Multiply that by millions, and that's the situation we're in.
Yeah, so I don't really try to morally judge anybody because it's just like, we're trying to do business.
Yeah. No, but these things have consequences, right? And so when you drive around our country, we have no more light industry. We have very little heavy industry left, and that's because it's cheaper to make these things in China. Right? Yeah. And this just plays in to their aggression towards the West and their wanting to get revenge on us, right? Yeah. And you see even with Trump with trying to sort of even the playing field in terms of tariffs. I mean, he was just attacked relentlessly. Like, this is going to crash the economy. This is bad, because everybody's afraid of the economic power of and going back to the art thefts. Like, for example, in Norway, they had 2 break-ins at their biggest museum in Norway, and they tracked it back to China. And then the decision was, well, okay, do we call the Chinese on this?
Right.
And they decided, we're not going to call the Chinese on this because they had had a bad experience with them a couple of years before because they gave a Nobel Prize to a Chinese dissident, and the Chinese were pissed off at them. So they were afraid that the Chinese are going to suspend trade, and
it's the same.
They have economic power. They can bully people with their economic power.
Yeah, it's like Hollywood. It's like Tom Cruise. Just take the Taipei patch off the bomber jacket. Huh?
Right.
Yeah, just take it off. Why? Take it off.
Right. It's a cool patch, man.
Take it off. But that's how it works.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works.
And to think it would work any other way would just be naive. You can change things, but don't expect people to do the right thing, so to speak, because they're just not going to do it.
So, the purpose of the book is just like, okay, where are these people coming from? Like, where does this hostility come from? And it's historical, and it's it's not only historical, but now it's sort of one of the strongest propaganda. Well, they have themes of the Communist Party.
Yeah, they had the 100 years of humiliation, and now they're on the 100-year plan.
That's right.
The other direction.
That's right.
That they're on as well.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if we're 50 years into the 100-year plan. I don't. So they should tell us what year we're in. Because if we're in
50 years.
If we're in the teens, I don't give a shit. But if we're getting into the high 80s, I need to know.
No. We're
and no, they're smart in that. They other countries. Okay, so the sad part is when they went back and they looked at Russian interference and collusion and whatever else. First things first, everyone, please just use your common sense. Do you think any bad actors in the world would prefer Donald Trump over Kamala Harris or brain-dead Joe Biden?
Right.
Like, these people are inert. Right. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do for the rest of your life. Right. You can invade anywhere you want to invade. You can blow up a commercial airliner. You got, as long as you got brain-dead Kamala and brain-dead Joe, do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Fuck around with Trump, and some cruise missiles are coming in that afternoon.
Right,
do you really think they want that in the White House? Why not just have the guys out celebrating gay pride every other fucking Monday, and you can just do what you want? It's essentially like
wear
saying,
a rainbow hat and you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, would you want, if you were in a prison or you're in a school, would you want a warden or a principal who was going to come after you over everything? Or you don't want the guys just stoned and hanging out and fucking around and going to the gay parade? Then you do whatever you want. So it doesn't even make sense that these rogue nations are trying to get Trump elected, and they're not. They're trying to get the other guy elected, but CNN
they try.
says the other way.
Now, this leads into my book that's coming out in September. So last summer, I was approached by some government whistleblowers, and they were like, hey, we've been doing an investigation for 4 years, and we want you to write the book about what we found out. And I said, okay, and they showed me what the results of their investigation. These guys are like the top government whistleblowers. One of them is like the most decorated CIA officer in recent history. And what they discovered was that since 2006, every one of our elections has been stolen by a cabal of foreign countries using voting software that's installed into voting machines.
Right.
And it all started in Venezuela. It was developed by Hugo Chavez in 2003 when there was a referendum in Venezuela that all the polls showed he was going to lose. And his Cuban advisors came to him and said, hey, what are you going to do? And they suggested there's this new thing, electronic voting software. Maybe we can find some software engineers who can devise something that will work. And it worked. He won the referendum in Venezuela. He put hundreds of millions of dollars into it and started exporting it to countries in South America. And his candidate was winning all the time. So that's why there was this sort of wave of leftist leaders, Evo Morales in Bolivia and so on. And then starting in 2006, they started using it here in the United States. And the first election that they stole was in Cook County, the primary between Obama and Hillary Clinton in Cook County, Illinois. And it was a big surprise to everybody that Obama beat Hillary because Obama was kind of an unknown guy at that time.
Yeah.
Well, that election was stolen. And every election since then has been stolen, except for 2024, which they were able to block, which is why we have Trump as president. They were planning to steal it for Kamala. They tried.
Well, look, every rogue nation wants a benign, hapless, sort of unaggressive, kind of willowy Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. And then you can do it. Look, if you're Nicaragua or you're Mexico or you're anybody who's basically flushing your system out of poor people or poor criminals or whatever, and they're sending them to the United States.
And exporting drugs.
And exporting drugs. Who would you rather have as the president of the United States?
Right.
Who do you want to be the border czar?
Right.
Tom Homan?
Right.
I don't think you want Tom Homan. Or you want Kamala Harris, who's been to the border but never been to the border, but doesn't understand the question. But she's going to the triangle countries to find out the root cause, and then she's going back to fucking Martha's Vineyard and having a cocktail. Of course, if it's business you want to do, and you're one of those nations, and there's a lot of them, then why the fuck would you want Donald Trump?
Yeah, well, they made a mistake. They stole it for him in 2016. And they learned their lesson because immediately he started going after Venezuela and sanctioning the leaders of Venezuela. So they made sure that he lost in 2020.
Right. So here's the real question.
Yeah.
The real question is everyone here just a useful idiot, like over at CNN or MSNBC or whomever? Are they useful idiots or are they part of this?
They're both.
They're both. Right. Yeah. Right. So
and it extends to our intelligence service, our FBI. That's why they're going in now. And they're just cleaning house because they're weeding through all the people who were. Yeah, it took a group of outsiders to discover this. not our CIA, not our FBI, not our intelligence community. It took outsiders, and what they did is what you do in any kind of criminal prosecution. You find sources within the criminal conspiracy. So they were able to find engineers who created this software and used it to steal. They can show you, they can take you through individual elections and show you how they stole it.
Well, it's not, by the way, I mean, think about the apoplectic reaction the media had about the stolen. Did you just say the election was stolen? You said stolen?
Oh, they freaked out.
And they would do these headlines where they go, Donald Trump falsely says it's a stolen election. Right. And it's like, I always look at that and I go, Donald Trump says it's a stolen election. Yeah. That's the headline. Yeah. Falsely, you're adding that.
Right. And you haven't done any research.
You don't know.
Whatsoever.
Well, you know as much about that as you know about ivermectin, which is fucking somewhere between jack and squat.
Right.
But the point is if I say, there's a fire, or I say I saw the chupacabra, you don't say Adam Carolla falsely says he saw an alien. Right. You just go, Adam Carolla says he saw an alien.
He said he saw it.
So I know that's the headline. That's what I said.
Right.
Doesn't mean I saw one, but that's what the headline would be.
Right.
So we know you're in on the grift. But here, look, for anyone who's, having trouble wrapping their head around what we're talking about, the FBI had Hunter Biden's laptop in their possession for a fucking year.
Yeah.
Do you not think they were able to authenticate it when they had it in their possession?
Of course.
And instead, they got 51 experts to sign a document that somebody in Biden administration drafted for them to sign right before the debate to say that it had all the earmarks of Russian collusion. Now, if that's not trying to control, now you're talking about Dominion or electronics.
Dominion, Smartmatic.
You're talking about electronically.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the story, the narrative.
Right.
You don't think the FBI is involved with this? Why did they craft this document and sign a document when they had access to the actual laptop?
And pretended that it was fake, right?
Of course.
And it's been known. I know a lot of people in Washington. They know about the Bidens and how they were pulling off deals in Ukraine and Guatemala, countries all over the world.
Does any news outlet want to know who the big guy is?
No.
And why is Hunter Biden in charge of paying the big guy 10%? Why Hunter? Why not any of the 8 other people who did business?
A crack addict. Yeah.
He's not even the wheel man or the second story man. Why? Here's my question.
Yeah.
You have businessmen, and they put together this thing and then went, we need Hunter Biden because we need his last name to go do business in Ukraine and do with all these other rogue nations. Okay. Why is the junkie who's only there to use his name, why is he in charge of taking care of the big guy? Why is it not all the other people who are running the business?
That's how cynical and how corrupt the whole thing is. This is who they found to approach powerful people around the world and shake them down for money for a favor from the vice president.
I know. But the bigger question is, what the fuck is CNN up to?
They're useless. I think everybody in the country, anybody who's got a brain, knows that at this point. They're just a propaganda arm of
do they
the
know
Democratic
what they are?
Party. Some of them do, and I think some of them don't. They just like having a job.
Once in a while, I'll just see like Wolf Blitzer up there just fucking lying. And I'll just go, Wolf Blitzer, come on, man. Like, what are you fucking doing? You're 70 years old. People used to think of you as an integrity and newsman and stuff. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Well, it all goes back to Network, right? That movie. When news became part of the entertainment section of networks, then all kinds of
nobody
integrity.
drops out. Nobody just goes like Wolf Blitzer doesn't go. I don't know anything about fucking. I don't know if this thing came from a lab or from a wet mark. I'm not going to get up here and talk about this shit.
They're just reading the news. They're not really reporters.
Right.
They're not reporters.
I guess you're right. So there's a lot of useful idiots, but there's also a lot of people that
are colluding.
For sure.
In the Democratic Party and in the Republican Party on both sides.
Yeah, because Trump's dangerous to this whole racket, right?
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's going to disrupt things.
He is, whatever you think of Trump, he is a guy who is a real patriot. Like he wants the country to be strong and free and get rid of all this nonsense. And this is foreign interference.
But if you're with USAID or USAID or whatever, you don't want fucking Trump coming in there and snooping around your books and shit.
Well, USAID was funding the election fraud. They were giving money to these companies to steal the election for us.
Right.
That's one of the reasons they got rid of it. It was billions of dollars, and that's come out. No news organization has picked that up. But if you look through the programs that they were funding, it's horrible.
And what now? Like when you
you got to go back. You talk to we've shown this stuff to Elon Musk and all these people who are computer experts and IT people. Yes. And they all say you got to go back to paper ballots, which Trump has been talking about.
Right.
Because any electronic system can be hacked.
Yes.
And it's really hard to find out because whoever designs the system, whoever designs the software, can design it in such a way that they hide any manipulation that's going on. Like they're the only ones who can see it.
Right.
So you have to go back to the old, where you sign for your ballot, and it's they can recount the paper ballots.
You think about election. I've
we
told
had
people this story, but I was voting, and I was in Malibu, and I was sitting there, and there's like some volunteer kid, I say kid, 22-year-old guy behind him, and I gave him, and I was checking in, and I go. And he goes, so let's see if you're in the rolls. And he was dope. He was a dope. So he was like, what's your name? Like Carolla. And he's like, Cor. No, Car. Okay, what's your address? Where are you registered? What's your billing address or your whatever address? Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's in Van Nuys. That's my accountant's office. That's on Kittredge Street. Spell that for me. Kittr. I go, listen to me. I'll just give you my license. It's got how to spell my name. It's got the address. It's all on there. He goes, I can't take your license.
Oh, come on.
I go, it's all the address, all the stuff you're screwing up.
Right.
It's just right printed here. I'll just hand it to you.
Otherwise, we'll be here for 20 minutes.
He goes, I can't take it from you.
Wow.
I go, you can't accept my ID to vote? I'm voting.
Yeah.
No, there's a law that says.
Oh my God.
Okay. Now what is it again? I'm like, it's Caroll. Carolla. No, two L's. Wait, what? Kittredge Street? I'm like, okay, listen, how about I hold the license? Yeah. I'll hold the license.
I'll write it out for you.
I'll hold it in front of your face, and then you can type it.
Yeah.
And then the supervisor comes by because fucking 20 minutes of trying to get, and the supervisor comes by and goes, what's the problem? He goes, I can't take his license, right? And she's like, you can't ask for his license, but if you're allowed to take his license, but you're not allowed to ask. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? This is a rule. How about you show your license and you vote, so we know it's you?
Right. Is this hard? Yeah.
Is this hard?
Yeah.
What if you're black and you can't get a license, though? It's like, what the fuck are we even talking about?
No, it's
show
insane.
your fucking license, vote, show your license, get on the airplane, show your license, buy a six-pack.
Yeah. Well, they use all this stuff to manipulate us.
Obviously, they're doing something because all they say is basically they do with voting what they do with the border, which is like, we want a secure border. You want a secure border?
No,
how come you don't secure the border?
No,
hold on, slow down.
So here's how they love people coming over the border, because what they would do, they come over the border, they'd register them for a driver's license.
Right.
Okay? And they would say, you got a free driver's license, so on and so forth. So they're all driving around if they had cars, whatever. Once you register for a driver's license, you're on the voting rolls, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then they fill out, they don't even give it to the guys coming across the border. They fill out the ballot for them. It goes to the California, voting registration. They look and they say, oh, well, this guy's registered to vote, and they count the ballot. He never shows up. He never signs anything. He's not even a citizen.
Yes. Well, bigger.
And they allow that to happen.
Listen, I just tell everyone, stop listening to what people are saying and really watch what they do.
Right.
Again, what's in it? You really think China and Russia and every rogue nation would like Donald Trump to be the president? No. Absolutely fucking not. So get that out of your head. So now you can get all the collusion out of your head too, because that's not who they want.
No.
Okay. If everyone who got across the border voted Republican, don't you think Kamala Harris would have made a trip down to San Diego?
Of course.
And don't you think Joe Biden would have done something?
They were going to
and
walk
don't
them
you
up
think
and,
when those guys were on horseback and they're throwing their reins around, they wouldn't have said, shades of Jim Crow whipping these Haitians. You think they would have done all that shit?
That's right.
And left the fucking border wide open if there was nothing in it for them.
Of course.
Well, then use your brain, everybody.
Cheap labor and automatic votes.
Right.
That's what they wanted, and they got it. And now they're upset that these people are, being asked, they're being offered money, $1,000 and a plane ticket to go back to where they're from.
It's such a bizarre construct. It's like they're not citizens and they're not being abused. They're being asked to leave because they shouldn't have been here in the first place.
Right.
And it's the debate about this. If you jumped the fence and got into Disneyland instead of bought a ticket and waited in line, then you'd be arrested.
Of course.
But this is Mickey Mouse coming up to you going, here's $1,000, just leave.
Right. It's a
good deal. Then these guys are getting pissed off that we have the temerity.
How could you do that? That's inhuman. What's inhuman about it? Yeah.
Well, also, they're not, they do this thing where it's like, this nation was built on immigrants. Not illegal.
That's right.
It's
That's
a
right.
weird. Everything is semantics, and they do this.
This is all purposeful, right?
I know it's purposeful, but the crazy part, I get what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's the useful idiot part. I mean, I see 73-year-old women with a cardboard sign yelling, we're not living in Nazi Germany. They're like screaming at ICE officers in downtown Arleta, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to you, bitch? And by the way, how easy is your brain scrambled? Because my God, it is scary, but I guess we learned it during COVID. I was like, oh man, your brains are so precariously perched that I could scramble your adult brain in 15 fucking seconds.
Yeah.
How out?
Well, that's
what kind of base? How precarious is your foundation that it can be disrupted and destroyed, and you're 62 years old, and it can just be all turned around in 2 days?
People, they don't have the ability to reason anymore. It's frightening. They just buy. I think.
Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
This will be your next book. Tell your wife it's time to get back to work.
Credit.
I'm telling you, there's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
When we were all working on a farm, we had the ability to reason. There was a constant relationship with things. Things that could kill us.
Right.
Blades and threshers and equipment and stuff and
Life
stuff.
and
there was no, mend that fence. Let me tell you about my truth about mending fences. There's no truth. There's no your truth. There's go fucking mend the fence. The cows are getting out.
Right.
Everything was just
based on
do
reality.
This.
Based on reality. Yeah.
And it was like, if we do not collect enough wood during the good months when the winter kicks in, we're going to die in this cabin.
Freeze.
We're going to freeze in this cabin.
Yeah.
And everyone understood it. There was gravity all around us.
Yeah.
And there was a relationship. And I understood this working as a carpenter all these years. And the guys who work in that industry, everything's got a blade.
Right.
Everything shoots sparks. Everything spins around.
Yeah.
Half of it's done up on a ladder.
Yeah, you can't be stoned. You can't be out of it. You got to be on top of it. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Every day. You got a Sawzall with a 12-inch blade, and you're up on a ladder.
Yeah.
Like, shit can happen.
No, I did construction work.
Right.
I know.
So that's where you lived.
Yeah.
And you had a order to it. It's like, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to do the subfloor first.
Right.
And then we're going to float it, and then we're going to put the tile,
Yeah.
and then we're going to do the grout. And so we go, I feel like we should do the grout first. All right, get the fuck out of here. We're not doing that.
That's right.
There's an order. This is how everything works.
That's
this
right.
Here's a plan. Read the plan. Follow the plan.
Yeah.
Okay. We moved everyone off the fucking farm. We put them in a cubicle. We pumped air conditioning in, and we put them earbuds on. And we put them in front of a computer, and they lost.
Yeah.
They've lost the reason. There's no gravity.
Yeah.
They don't know what makes sense anymore. I talk to people now who are in this world.
Yeah.
They don't track. They're not logical.
Yeah.
They don't make sense. They have a feeling about stuff.
Well, also they
know what they know,
the
even though they don't know anything.
The information that they get is through sources that you absolutely can't trust, that are all trying to manipulate them or get them to buy something or vote for something or sign on to a particular cause. And they don't have enough experience of their own to kind of judge against it, right? Right, to measure it.
Well, they don't
against
have a
that.
base.
They don't have a base.
But you need the thing about the tactile world is it's very logical.
Yeah.
And then it's unforgiving.
That's right.
And it just sort of bites you.
That's right.
And it's like driving a manual shift.
Yeah.
It's first, second, third, clutch.
Right.
It's not third into reverse.
No. Yeah.
And it's the same and it'll work the same, but it will bite.
Yeah.
If you do something wrong.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of pay attention. You
can't zone out. You can't zone out.
Can't
and I think
text
we
and
have
drive
a
it manual.
population today that's zoned out, and they receive their information through television, and television news is completely compromised. The big problem I see for our country is that there's no integrity in news, right? So there used to be, you could watch, CBS or Walter Cronkite. Everybody talks about Walter Cronkite, but you could watch it and you had a sense that he's telling you, maybe he's not giving you the whole truth, but they're at least trying to report like what's going on in Vietnam or what's going on here or there. Now they don't even pretend.
Well, then you have these characters like Obama, and he's up there pontificating on fake news and where these people are getting from some podcast somewhere. And it's like, hey, bitch, all you do is lie.
Right.
And you're saying, no, go back to CNN.
Yeah.
Because this is scary, these people listening to you or I or Joe Rogan or whoever on these pirate places with all these lies and they're poison. You know what I mean? It's like...
they're subversives.
Well, could we just...
Yeah.
Let's just do this, Barack Obama. Let's just check my batting average during COVID versus CNN's batting average during COVID.
Yeah.
And then we'll see who's the fake news.
It was like during COVID when Bobby Kennedy put out his book and Fauci was, this is all lies and all the media. And he goes, let's debate.
Right.
Anywhere you want. Let's just sit down and debate. And we don't have that anymore. It's just different people shouting at one another.
Yes. Obama wants us to listen to Rochelle Walensky and Fauci during COVID.
Right.
Those two are corrupt.
Right.
And they're fucking lying the whole time or they're stupid as shit.
Right.
But that's his plan, is to get us to listen to the experts.
Yes.
And then not listen to Joe Rogan, who happened to be right about stuff. But what's Obama doing?
Yeah.
And is he just a bad dude, or is it all money, or what's he doing?
I think his agenda is bad. Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah, he is.
I used to be sort of agnostic with these people, like, oh, he just doesn't.
No. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that.
Like he doesn't like the United States.
No, he doesn't.
Right.
No, a lot of people don't. And I think he's actually working for the enemy. There's a criminal cartel that we find through this whole election stuff, which is Venezuela, Cuba, China is involved, Russia is involved a little bit, Serbia, and Iran. Mm-hmm. And they are basically trying to undermine the United States. They want to weaken us, and they hate the strength and the democracy of the United States.
Right, but they'll tell you one thing they understand. They understand that they'll never beat us in a conventional war.
Exactly.
But we have enough fucking insane race hustlers who hate this country that we'll just battle it out ourselves.
Yeah, well, George Soros, Open Foundation. I mean, they're behind so much of this stuff. Antifa, Black Lives Matter. He's come out and said, like, I don't like humanity. I don't like the United States. You don't need
to bomb Los Angeles. You can just start a race riot.
Easy.
We'll bomb ourselves. We'll set ourselves on fire. Right. We don't have to be Dresden.
People, waving foreign flags, and you're like, wait a minute. Do they want to stay? They want to leave? Nothing even makes sense anymore.
Right. So
people are defending it, and you're going, did I lose my mind?
Right. So what I think what we can agree on, but you tell me, because you've talked to these people, you know, and you've got a peek behind the curtain. But tell me.
Yeah.
Because I was always like, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I have a lot of conversations like Dr. Drew. It's like, does Gavin Newsom hate us, or is he really incompetent, or is he bought?
He's both. He's bought
and incompetent.
And he's incompetent.
Okay, so
I know somebody who knows him really well.
Yeah.
And he's just like, Ralph, if you spoke to him, he's not a bad guy, but he's not smart at all.
No,
he's an actor.
He's been in here for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I know he's been. I know. Well, he doesn't track correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's an actor.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a group of these rogue nations that are cheering for our demise.
Yes.
Then you have these Soros types that spread money around, and also their raison d'etre is us burning to the ground.
Yeah.
But they're probably angry at their dads, I guess.
Oh,
but there's some sort of weird thing.
Yeah.
Then there's your sort of dumbos like Kamala Harris and sort of Joe Biden, who are just husks who just sort of get pushed out to say whatever. They're for trans this, they're against
they
trans
don't even
that.
know what they're talking about.
They're for fracking, they're against fracking. They've worked at McDonald's.
Which is why they can't even explain it.
They can't explain it because
it's word salad. It's just nonsense.
No, it's an actor.
Yeah.
Playing a doctor.
Yeah.
And you go, I need D5W and lactate ringers. And then you go, cut. What are you talking about? What does that mean? I go, I don't fucking know. I just said D5W and lactate ringers. I'm reading the fucking script. I don't know. I can't describe what's going on with this patient. I'm not.
Right. You're asking me something.
So you got this sort of husk.
Yeah.
Then you got this sort of ideologue CNN types who believe they're saving something or doing something noble, or they just want to go to cocktail parties.
And now they're telling us, oh, we knew all along, or we didn't know that he was incompetent. We could all see it.
Yeah,
people were saying that.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing here?
And then a pile of useful idiots like my mom, God rest her soul, who are ready to buy into any of this fucking shit and go out and push ICE officers, right? So you need an army of idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, you need foot soldiers. You need privates, which are just dumb citizens who are going to go scream outside of detention centers or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you need this sort of ideologue types over at CNN and MSNBC. Yeah. And then you need the cabal of real players who are throwing real money around, the Soroses and then these rogue nations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, who have infiltrated our government, our businesses, everywhere, and they're just taking us down. I mean, USAID was basically funding a lot of this stuff, a lot of crazy, how did this get, and then you have people in Congress that are either corrupt themselves or also useful idiots because they allowed this to get passed, to get funded.
Yeah.
And you're going like, how can you justify giving billions of dollars to companies that are stealing our elections, that are really basically running out of China and Venezuela?
Well, Ralph, I want you to come back in September.
Okay.
You made a mistake and told me you didn't live too far away. You should have said Chicago. I really drove a Mini Cooper from Chicago. Well, it's good mileage.
I'm a dedicated guy.
Now you told me where you live. I know you're not too far away.
Okay.
So come back in September for the Stolen Election book, and let's just get into it.
Let's do it.
And
let's do it.
Right now.
I'll try to bring one of the whistleblowers with me if he's available.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
This book, Original Sin, is available on the 15th, I believe.
You mean the Great Chinese Art Heist?
Oh, wait a minute. What did I just look down? Oh, I looked at the wrong. Oh, look at
That's okay.
Sorry, I got next author coming on. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry,
okay.
yours is up there. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Great Chinese Art Heist, that's on the 15th.
That's on the 15th, yeah. And that you'll help give you it's very entertaining, and you'll get an understanding of why the Chinese, what their attitudes towards us are. And the underpinning, kind of cultural underpinning of all this nonsense.
All right, we'll get you on the calendar. Dawson's going to do news. We'll do that right after this. Homes.com. Some might say Homes.com is the best home shopping site. It may be. Homes.com's super comprehensive and transparent agent directory, or maybe it's at Homes.com is the only site that always directly connects you with the listing agent who knows the home the best. Perhaps it's because Homes.com has the most in-depth neighborhood content of any home shopping site that's extensively researched to highlight the personality of each neighborhood. It's probably a combination of all those things. That's why I love going to Homes.com. It's fun just poking around, kicking some tires. Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth info they need to find the right home. Homes.com. We've done your homework. Shopify. Well, starting a business can be intimidating. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build beautiful online store to match your brand style. You'll be able to get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify, right, Dawson?
Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Carolla, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Carolla to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/Carolla. And now, Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, Louisville, Kentucky. A 25-year-old man was charged with felony assault after shooting a Wendy's employee in the buttocks. The man was angry over the temperature of his French fries. Definitely not a Jew.
I don't get, Dawson, all the violence. Like, they're out of curly fries at Wendy's, and
everything
the chick goes over the counter to try to choke the person.
Everything's a purposeful affront now.
I just feel like my whole life is just someone looking at me going, "We're out of honey dipping sauce," and me going, "Oh, all right. You got ranch?" That's my whole life. I don't know the part where I want to throw hands. It's insane. Also,
I think we're conditioned to getting everything we want all the time,
I guess.
And no one is capable of dealing with not getting it.
Here's the other one, though, that I think about. If you're out of honey dipping sauce over at McDonald's, that's Carl Karcher's fault or whoever. That the guy behind the counter is fucking standing there.
I mean, I shot a guy when my fries were not hot enough.
He was snoring.
Right. My God.
All right, what's going on in the news?
Big news day. Diddy has been acquitted on the most dangerous charges against him. He's been acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, but he was found guilty on lesser charges. Guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, which sounds a lot like sex trafficking, and 2 counts of not guilty of 1 count of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, but guilty only on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Tenny Garagos broke out in tears.
Oh, she did.
The
Mark's daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
The defense team was being called the dream team in the court.
Oh, man.
And you know how these acquittals just bring out the best in people. They were celebrating out in the streets.
Not since OJ.
Yeah.
I love it. I love a win for the black community.
Yep. And the way they did it was dousing everyone with baby oil.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say there's going to be some twerking going
There's
on.
a winner.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to make sure her fries are the right temperature. I can guarantee
feel like
that.
the black community's taken a step backwards in the last several
This
years.
is progress, Adam.
Okay, equality.
It's progress.
James Comey's daughter was the prosecutor. Good. Nice floss for that fucking douche family. But, yeah.
Well, they're saying the rumor is, well, not the rumor, I don't know. An idea is that the prosecution way overcharged in hopes of scaring Diddy into making a plea deal and making it easy for them. And that's what the jury was like.
Well,
no, there's no real evidence of this.
Let me bring up this analogy. I was looking at houses, and I've said this before, but I mean it, and it pertains to everything. The pictures for this house were spectacular, but when you showed up, it wasn't a good house. And then at some point, I talked to like the realtor, and they go, "Yeah, it's been 2 months, no offers," and I'm like, "Yeah, because your pictures." People aren't buying it online. They're going to show up, and the pictures should look good, but not so much better that people are disappointed. And I would say the same thing for dating apps. You can't have fucking take a picture of George Clooney when he's 19. Yeah, use that, but eventually someone's showing up at the Red Lobster, and your fat ass is going to be sitting in a booth. So that's how life works. And as far as charging, if you think about it, if a guy is guilty of X, Y, and Z, but you're shooting for the moon, then the jury's going to go, well, I'm not saying he's a good guy, but he ain't that. Yeah, and you're so overcharging is like the pictures being too good online of the home.
It's the padded bra.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Diddy's not out of the woods. The crimes that he was convicted of, he still faces a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison for each count. Yeah. So he could still get sentenced to up to 20 years in prison. I don't think it'll be that much.
Time served is what they're going to argue. Tenny Garagos is a sweet, sweet lady. By the way, she's very nice.
Yes.
And good for her. And by the way, they know what they're doing because these are the kind of cases that put you on the map. I mean, if your resumes, I got P. Diddy out.
Something in that Garagos water over there.
There's going to be some business coming your way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. And, I don't want a legal system where you can be locked up for being a horrible person.
Sure.
I like some crime, some actual crime.
Yeah.
And also stuff. There's a couple things for me. You being a total fucking douche is as much as that's true. Like, I don't want to see DJ Khaled incarcerated just because he's a talentless hack douche.
Well.
You know what I mean? A little time.
I mean, after what he did to that Bob Marley guitar, I don't know.
That's a great. El Kabong played a better guitar.
I mean, I'd support a work release program.
Yeah,
for him, maybe,
put an ankle bracelet on him. Send him to wherever they sent Martha Stewart.
Right.
Let him get his affairs in order. But I don't, and also I don't really like the part where they make laws. Like they go, well, this is for racketeering, and this is for human trafficking, and they're like, but you didn't meet the chick in Nevada, and then you drove her to North Hollywood. So technically, it's like, oh, that's not what the law. Is that why you put the law in there so I can meet a chick at Gold Rush Pete's on the county line over there? What the fuck is that casino called over there?
Whiskey Pete's, yeah.
So I meet a chick at Whiskey Pete's, and then I drive her to North Hollywood and bang her on a futon, and there's some sort of interstate, trafficking thing going on. I don't want that either.
Right.
P. Diddy, and then there's like gun stuff and drug stuff, but I don't know. In terms of pimping, guns, and drugs, I feel like the rap community is fairly open about their relationship with the pimp hands and the guns and shit, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like that shouldn't be a revelation to us, should it?
It shouldn't. Remember, though, when the FBI raided Diddy's house, they got all these videos, and there was a lot of speculation on who's on these videos and what these videos show. Mm-hmm. Are we never going to see any of that stuff? We're never going to see any of that stuff.
I don't want to see.
I don't want to. Yeah,
I don't want to see Tom Hanks getting pegged.
Right.
Or maybe we do. Listen,
there's a market for that.
Somebody's hit the Epstein Island. Yeah. Someone's hit the plane. Someone's hit the P. There's some trifecta. There's some, what do they call it? The EGOT or whatever, the Oscar and the Tony and the Emmy. And there's a couple versions of that for these parties.
Yeah.
There's some celebrity sitting around going,
sex trafficking hat trick.
I've been to all of them.
Right.
The EGOT.
Right.
I tweeted this out, and I still mean it. I think in a world of just publicity, I feel like Subway has to announce that they're negotiating with P. Diddy to be their new spokesperson.
I saw this.
Like, I think that would be, first off, we would all stop what we're doing and think about Subway.
Yeah.
And let me tell you how Subway and all sandwiches work. You go, fucking, watch. You tell me, I'll tell you how the human mind works with sandwiches.
Okay.
All right. You tell me that Subway's negotiating with P. Diddy to be their new spokesperson.
Hey, Adam. Did you hear that Subway is negotiating with P. Diddy to be their new spokesperson?
That is outrageous. That's insane. I have a daughter. That's crazy. You know what? I'm never going to get another one of their delectable Italians, 6-inch or 12-inch. I like to put what I do is I put the olive oil in the dressing on top. I'll go light lettuce, and then I'll go olive oil on top.
Have you tried the number 2?
Is that the turkey? Or is that the meat lovers?
I don't know.
The number 2, I think, is the turkey and provolone.
Right. That's pretty good.
What time is it?
I don't know. It's lunchtime.
Is
you
it
hungry?
What about 1 o'clock?
Yeah. Let's go to
you want a 6-incher?
I know there's a Subway. Oh, we go footlong, $5 footlong. They don't have it anymore. They're $10 now, but.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to get the provolone and the turkey, and then you get the Italian, and we'll just split it. We'll do the footlong with the
Smart.
6 All right, let's do this. All right.
Want to listen to Diddy on the way?
Yeah, let's listen to a little P. Diddy. What are we talking about? Yeah, put some P. Diddy on. I like that thing where he's tipping his cap to the fat guy who got shot.
Next story here. This is a rare left-leaning headline from the New York Post. The headline is, trans UPenn swimmer Lia Thomas will be stripped of titles after university bends the knee to Trump admin.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's everybody... All these universities and all these fakakta organizations and all of Hollywood, they always take a stand, and then someone goes, yeah, we're going to take away the money. And they go, all right, fuck the stand. We want the money.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So there was a Title IX probe into UPenn and this whole Lia Thomas competing, whatever. They came to an agreement, and UPenn has to do a major mea culpa.
Yeah, I know.
The conditions that UPenn is held to, this is kind of wonderful news. UPenn will restore to female athletes all individual Division I swimming records, titles, or similar recognitions which were misappropriated by male athletes allowed to compete in female categories. UPenn will issue a public statement stating that it will comply with Title IX and not allow males to compete in female sports. The statement will specify that UPenn will adopt biology-based definitions for the words male and female. You're a fucking college.
Well, okay, couple things. I've said it a million times. I always say this. Can we just evolve, or do we have to keep going back and fixing shit we fucked up? So basically, you assholes bought in I don't know if you ever bought into it, but decided you liked the crowd that said men were men and women were women, or anyone could be what they wanted. There was no biology or X, Y chromosomes or anything. You fucking did that. Now you have to go back and you have to fix all the retarded shit you should have never bought into in the first place.
Yep.
This is defund the police.
I would imagine
we're going to defund the police.
Yeah.
Now the town's on fire. Fuck defunding the police.
Yeah.
Well, stop doing the bad ideas in the first place, everyone, and we wouldn't have to circle back and fix everything.
Here's the closer on this. UPenn will have to send a personalized letter of apology to each impacted female swimmer. I love that.
And I love that they're such whores.
And I hope lawsuits come right after this.
All they have to do is hold back a little bit of funding, and they just fucking fold, which is so pathetic. But it's who they are. But it's not like they believed it in the first place.
It's not like they believed it in the first place. Would they come at it? Would they agree to this so aggressive form of apology or change if they actually really did believe that they were doing the right thing?
Right.
They don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't at all. So that they never believed it in the first place. That's my theory. Yeah. My rough theories. No one really believes they're retarded shit in the first place. They're just trying to get invited to the cocktail party, and they don't want to be ostracized. It's right up there with COVID.
Right.
If people thought a mask worked, they wouldn't wear it around their fucking chin with both nostrils exposed when they're telling me to put my mask up.
Right.
If they believed it, they wouldn't do anything. Gavin Newsom wouldn't go to the French Laundry with 30 of his closest friends if he believed it. He doesn't believe it. That's my point. I don't think anyone believes most of this shit.
And 5 years from now, we are going to look back and say, this actually happened. This is insane.
Oh, yeah. I thought that when it was happening.
Well, I mean, generally, the general public, yes. I as well. L.A. hotel owners sounding an alarm, not literal, as $30 minimum wage threatens to cause mass closures. This family hotel in West Los Angeles says, the guy says, my hotel is a family-owned business. We are an important local driver for the community, but they cannot survive the minimum wage being brought up by $2.50 every year until it reaches $30 in 2028. This happens just as the Olympics are supposed to happen in 2028. They're not. It's not going to happen.
Listen,
city's not prepared.
There should be no minimum wage. That's between you and the person.
The market dictates.
We don't need a minimum wage. We don't. And people go, okay, go. Here's everything. Go fucking talk to the neighbor kid. Go find the 15-year-old neighborhood. Bring him over. Wash my car. Okay. How much? There's no just wash my car.
Right.
How much? Okay. You go $3. Fuck you. I'm not going to do that. Couldn't even get a 6-incher over at Subway. Hey, by the way, did you hear the news? He goes, no. You go, okay. $100. $100. I'll wash every fucking car in your driveway. $100 a car. And then we'll negotiate. And at some point, it'll be worth his while or her while to wash your car. Now, it's going to be different for different people. Because if your neighbor kid is Barron Trump, then you're not going to get him for $11 to wash your car. May not wash your car at all.
Right.
He may never leave his home when you ask him to come over and look at your car. It'll be different for everyone, but that's up to them. It's like prostitutes. There's $50 prostitutes. There's $5,000 prostitutes. There's no set price for a prostitute. You negotiate. That's the price.
So you negotiate with the prostitute.
Every restaurant is that way. They just have a different price. You want to go to fucking Pup and Taco Bell? Go ahead. You want to go to a high-end steak place, Mr. Chow's? Then that's going to be a different price. But that's up. But by the way, and then they go, well, why should people work for slave wages? Okay, first off, slaves didn't get paid, you assholes. If they did, we wouldn't have this problem right now.
Right.
Number one. Number two, the blacks wouldn't be as angry. Now, I wish we paid them minimum wage, slave minimum wage. But all right, they didn't get paid. They weren't slave wages, number one. Number two, you don't have to work there. You don't have to. No one is obligated to work for slave wages. And by the way, everybody, when I was a carpenter, I made, at some point, I made $15 an hour. And at some point, I tried to get a job as a maintenance guy at the Mervyn's or something, or the whatever, Bullocks or something. And like, it was like West Valley. It was like a 25-hour week, steady. I could do comedy, and I could also have a job and kind of support myself. And I remember I went and interviewed with the guys, and it was Tom Collins.
It's a good drink.
And he walked me around the whole place, and I was thinking to myself, I had like that number in my head, like I was like, I'm gonna need $13 an hour, $12 an hour, something like that. And if he offers me $10 an hour, no fucking way. And if he offers me 15, I'm in. But I need, the over-under's like 13, And it was like, we'll be in touch. And I went back to my apartment in North Hollywood. And I sat there, and he called me like that afternoon or whatever. And he goes, all right, I'm prepared to offer you $13 an hour. It was like $12.50 an hour. Right? Okay. It was exactly on the Mason-Dixon line. And I was like, no. If he said 15, I would have been driving toward the fucking Mervyn's with my tool bags on. And if he said 10, I would have just hung up.
Right.
But he just got that number right in the middle, and I just sat there, and I was like, no.
Isn't it funny?
But I got to decide.
Exactly.
And he got to make up whatever fucking number he wanted.
Exactly.
And at that point in L.A., minimum wage probably $6.75 an hour, whatever the fuck it was. It didn't factor in. He gave me a number. I had a certain skill set, but not advanced, and I decided.
Minimum wage jobs usually take minimum skill and minimum training. And now they're going to be something that people aspire to have at $30 an hour.
Well, also they do a thing where they go, how's a mother of three supposed to support a family? You're not. You're working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Also, what you don't realize, and you probably do a little bit as a homeowner, it fucks up everyone else's fucking shit because people come over and they want to do yard work for $50 an hour.
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
It's like what? My accountant got $50 an hour. Like lawyers did. No, I want $50 an hour to do what? To fucking move shit. Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
So once you get working at McDonald's to $30 an hour, then the guy who's going to come over and clean your gutters is going to want $80 an hour.
Yeah. Well, the hotel owners say it's unsustainable, and any extra money that they might have made to recover from all the lockdown stuff and everything, because of the Olympics, because of the World Cup, because of Super Bowls, they're not going to make it because they got to pay minimum wage. I mean, it's exponential too. We're talking about like how many minimum wage staff do you think there is at a hotel? 50, 100 people?
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, well, listen, the whole point is the government doesn't need to get involved with this and many other things. Mm-hmm. And by the way, whatever you guys think works, it never works. Whatever it is, whatever you do, it never works. You get the minimum wage to $30, and McDonald's starts outfitting the place with kiosk and Flippy the robot who makes hamburgers, and now no one's got a job. That's whatever. It's all unintended consequences. You guys can't control it, and all you do is fuck things up. So please get out of the way.
Yep.
And also, I do want to caution all government bureaucrats. Businesses are much smarter than you are. There's a reason why you're doing what you're doing. You're dumb. You're taking a job. You essentially opted out of competition and the free markets. So you got a nice job. Many of these people are stupid. When you see these people interviewed, you're like, oh, that fucking guy's dumb. That congresswoman's dumb. They're dumb. Business is inherently smart because they have to be, because they're essentially in a world where there's so much competition that they have to be on their toes, always in fighting shape, and always ready, always thinking about their next move, like a grand champion.
There's never been an entrepreneur who has failed upwards.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you hit them with your bullshit, whatever regulation or whatever that thing is, they zig when you zag and they go somewhere else and they just outwit you.
Right.
And then you get unintended consequences. So you want to raise the minimum wage, you're going to get automation and people out of jobs.
Yep.
You want to raise the tax rate, you're going to get people relocating to other jurisdictions where
Smaller
lower
staff,
tax rate.
fewer services.
Right. You get whatever your move is, they got a move plan for your dumb ass.
Right.
Right. All right, let's do one more.
All right, so a dad jumped from a Disney ship to save his daughter. Here's what happened. They were on deck 4 of this Disney cruise ship, and that's the deck where the shuffleboard is.
I had a lot of thoughts about this because everyone's been talking about it.
Okay, well, anyway, there's the rescue. This I'm shocked that she was not killed on impact. That is a very hard fall, and when you hit the ocean like that, it could break every bone in your body.
Is deck 4 stories? Is it 60? No one's really told us the height.
It's approximately 4 stories.
Is it?
But
because it's ships, like I don't know where the lobby is in the hole.
See,
you know?
Deck 1 is way, way low.
Yeah, but way low starts at 25 feet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. I need to know.
I'm going to say it's about 40 feet.
Yeah, it sounds that because it's got a 4 in it. But listen, that's a 4-story building. But you come walking in off the sidewalk, you're on the first floor. But of the ship, you go up 30 feet before you get to the first deck.
That's true. So there may be another 10, 12 feet of space below that All
right, someone's going to have to tell. Listen, you can't figure it out. Here's my point. My point is deck 1 in an office building is on the ground.
Right.
Deck 1 on a cruise ship can be 30 feet in the air.
Exactly.
And then deck 4 is another 30 feet above the already 30 feet. So it's hard to figure that one out. But approximately 50 feet, 5 stories. Okay, here's a question. First off, did he throw the kid off to get attention? Because I would do that.
He was playing shuffleboard with his wife, I guess.
World. This guy's a hero.
The precocious 5-year-old climbed the
railing.
The railing, but there are easy places to climb up on the railing for children. There's a laminate,
and it was a
girl, little girl, 5 years old.
Wow, man, that's she's a crackerjack. Like I like her. She's going to be dead when she's 12 because she's going to crawl up something, fall off of something else.
Yeah, and the dad did what I think any dad would do.
Mm-hmm.
Just boom, jumped right in after her, and then they had to call a man overboard. And good thing it was daytime. I guess.
Yeah.
Good thing that there wasn't rough seas. This is somewhere between Miami and the Caribbean.
The water was warm. It was daytime. It's a good time to go overboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever jumped off of a balcony just for fun on a cruise ship, you're out. They kick you off the boat. Goodbye.
If you jump off a balcony for fun.
Yeah.
Like onto what though?
Like if you jump into the water. I've seen videos of
they
like
kick you off
drunk
the-
kids.
yeah.
You're out.
You're out, but you got to at least be on the cruise until you get back, right?
No, the next stop they will kick you off the ship.
But still the next stop. Like if you're going back from Ensenada, whatever.
They do have these special locks.
They ban you from
future
cruising.
cruises. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
But none of this is going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be a lawsuit. It seems like this guy. I mean, it's a combination of poor parenting. He wasn't paying attention. How your kid is not Spider-Man. Your kid did not get on the other side of this balcony in a split second.
Well, I'll tell you something. I feel like you got to know your kid a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Sonny would have never tried this shit.
Right.
Natalia, I'd need to keep an eye on because she was into this shit. You know what I mean? And I feel the same way with the mom who's like, the police shot my son. The Chicago police. Your son's 13. Yeah. It was 3 a.m. Yeah. It was a Tuesday. Right. He had a gun. He was running around an alley. Yeah. Okay, that's a little bit on you. Why don't you know where your fucking kid is at 3 and where to get the gun and so on and so forth. So, yeah, you got to know your kid. Look, it's a great story. The dad comes off smelling like a rose.
Yep.
And it's great because the dad just got himself a pass for the rest of his life. Like he's sitting there with his wife, at some point 2 years from now, and they're gonna get the food's ready. You're gonna go pick it up, honey. I had a long day. Oh, you had a long day. So you don't want to get into the car and go over there and pick up the Indian food, huh? You know who else had a long day?
Yeah.
That day I went over the fucking railing, 5 stories above the ocean, into Davy Jones' locker.
Right.
While you just stood there
and
with a shit-eating grin on your face, holding a paddleboard shuffle.
You were drinking
stick.
a pina colada while I was saving our
drunk
daughter.
to save our daughter.
In shark-infested water.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, so I remember that day. So why don't you scoot your ass over to that minivan and go fucking pick me up my takeout food?
That's right. So, yeah.
All right. Alex Thompson is on in the Zoom parlor.
Hey, real quick, may I say, Ralph Pezzullo, fascinating guy.
Agreed.
He has a podcast called Heroes Behind Headlines at HBH Pod. There is 3 episodes that he did with the CIA whistleblower on those Dominion voting systems. So if people want to learn something now and don't want to wait until September, it's hbhpod.com, and the CIA whistleblower is Gary Bernstein.
Interesting, and thank you for that. All right, we'll talk to Alex, who's teamed up with Jake Tapper, wrote a book. You've been hearing all about it. We'll talk to him right after this. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Mao. Yeah. Well, you know the song. Guess who was at the O'Reilly Auto Parts yesterday? This podcaster right here. Up on Foothill, La Crescenta. Look it up. Went in there. One of those mobile battery jumper things. Nice. Not the old cart you got to plug in. Comes charged, by the way. F350 diesel dually. Battery went dead. Pop that bad boy right on. Fire that thing right up. That was O'Reilly. So they're friendly, they're experts, they're helpful, and they have the knowledge you need to know to maintain and repair your vehicle. Hey, guys were in there, guys behind the counter. They knew what they were talking about. So whether you're a car aficionado or auto novice, you're going to find the employees at O'Reilly Auto Parts knowledgeable, helpful, best off. They're friendly. So stop by O'Reilly. You can go online or you can swing in. Doesn't matter. Go to O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
This summer, Pluto TV is exploding with thousands of free movies. Summer of Cinema is here. Feel the explosive action all summer long with movies like Gladiator, Mission Impossible, Beverly Hills Cop, Good Burger, and Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Bring the action with you and stream for free from all your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
Alex Thompson has joined us via Zoom. Original Sin, President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Obviously, with Jake Tapper, this guy's been making the rounds. Good to meet you, Alex.
Great to meet you too, Adam. Longtime listener. I enjoyed President Me, your book, and some of your Biden jokes during the past 5 years. I definitely have watched and laughed at.
Well, Alex, let's get a little history before we get into all this stuff that everyone always talks about. How did this book come about? How did you hook up with Jake on this book?
Well, it's Jake's idea. I had been covering Biden's decline and his age since 2021, but really aggressively in early 2023, in part because that was when sources inside the building actually started talking in a way that was of concern. They thought they had concerns about him running for re-election. They also had concerns about his abilities to run for president till January of 2029, which is what he was trying to do. And that was also a period where Jake, unlike many other cable news hosts, actually started having, booked me on his show. And then the day before the election, I was on Jake's show, and he turned to me. He's like, I think Kamala Harris is going to lose. I've been thinking about this book about Biden. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, like, sure, why not? Right. And then the day after the election, he sent me like 3 drafts of a book proposal, and we were off. I had tried to write a book about Biden before then, not connected to Jake, just by myself. Me and Simon Schuster parted ways, in part because of differences over, the topic and the way to frame the Biden presidency. And so that is how this came together. I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about Jake Tapper, but I do sometimes think, and I don't know if this is where you're going to go with this, but I think sometimes like people make Jake Tapper an avatar of the broader mainstream media in ways that I think are unfair, even if there are very fair criticisms of the mainstream media's coverage of Joe Biden.
Well, I think the pushback or the criticism comes, and I think it's not just Joe Biden. People were sort of at their saturation point, probably because of COVID, which then sort of spread into Biden, which is getting lied to essentially over and over again about, lectured on ivermectin, horse paste and stuff like that. And it was like, it was weaponized. And I think regular people were like sitting around going, hold on, I'm noticing things, I'm observing things, and I'm commenting on those things, and I'm being attacked by everybody for no logical reason other than it's been sort of politicized and weaponized. And COVID just sort of dovetailed right into Biden, which was COVID was folks saying, hey, I don't get why we're closing beaches and parks and schools. I don't get, and then being attacked, called racist or elitist or something. And then it rolled right into Biden. And so I think people were sort of a little bit saturated. And also, they were tired of being called crazy for things they were noticing, like it's a weird position to raise your hand and go, I'm noticing this thing. And you're going, you're crazy. Shut up. That's a stutter. That's a cheap fake or whatever they're calling it, or something, whatever they knew about COVID, which, maybe it came from a lab. Maybe it didn't come from a wet market. It's like, shut up, you're racist, So people were at a saturation level. And then Biden came around, and the same thing happened with the same news outlets telling everyone they were wrong about stuff they were seeing. And then Jake got up front and essentially became the piñata for 7 years of pent-up feelings.
I agree. I agree with both your points, which is like people have a right to be frustrated and angry. I also agree that Jake became the piñata. As someone that also has been sort of like on a much smaller scale, like sort of within the DC journalist world, occasionally been a piñata. I just don't think he's the right piñata.
Well, no, he's not. I was talking earlier. We're at a point in our society where when the person behind the counter tells the guy at McDonald's he's out of honey dipping sauce, the person tries to choke the person behind the counter, is just telling them we're out of honey dipping sauce. They don't stock the stuff. They don't own the place. And we're kind of at that place. But Jake is also in the media, part of the media, and was part of the group that was on the side of he's got a stutter versus he's impaired mentally. And so he's owed some of the slings and arrows he's facing.
I think Jake, so first of all, the clip that you're referencing about him deflecting and using sort of the Biden spin of it was a stutter. That clip is from 2020. Mm-hmm. And that's the best clip that some of his detractors have. Now, there are much better clips from many other people on cable news and within the mainstream media that are way after 2020, that are in 2022, 2023, 2024. And I think, like, I would say, and Jake, I think to his credit, like, unlike a lot of journalists that have covered Joe Biden, was like, I should have done better. Lara Trump, he was interviewing, was more right than I was. And that's what journalists should do.
Well, I agree. So on that subject, and I think the problem that folks who are in my camp who think like me are trying to wrestle with is the assertion or when you hear Jake or others speak about this, they go, we were lied to by the Biden administration. My argument is, well, first off, we wouldn't need journalists if we just listened to administrations and took them at face value, because administrations lie about everything. Historically, they try to cover everything and WMDs, and every single administration has a laundry list of shit they lie about because they're
completely agree.
So first off, that's baked in. So to say this administration lied to us is an insane proposition, because you should expect they lie to you, and that's why we have journalists. It's like saying the Chinese government wasn't straight up with us about COVID. Oh, really? Okay. That's why we have journalists. Okay, so that's a weird one to say, but the thing about Biden is Biden was impaired, and it was clear to a lot of people that he was impaired. So then the greater question is, why was it clear to folks in certain positions, and usually detractors, and usually people on the right, and usually Republicans, but why was it abundantly evident to them and not abundantly evident to the other side? And so now there's two choices. I like to play a game called Stupid or Liar. They're either lying about it or they're really bad at their job. Both reasons for disqualification in my world, but all right. Now, there's kind of a third lane, which is they wanted something to be true so badly that it impaired their decision-making process. It's a mom who just can't believe her son is guilty of murder. You know what I mean? Even though all the evidence in the world is presented in the court, but she knows her baby would never do that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of the third lane. But then the problem comes is now these are journalists, and journalists shouldn't be impaired by this kind of thinking. But what is your take on that?
I'm glad that you laid out several options, because too often people try to make the mainstream media as if it's just one thing, right? But I do think actually all the things that you said, it's all of the above. Like, were there some people that let their own ideological leanings, whether or not they were pro-liberal or anti-Trump, affect their reporting about Joe Biden? Absolutely.
Well, not some. It was everybody at CNN.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Well,
but I would
pretty much. No one said anything.
We can agree to disagree. It's fine. But do I think some people are also, to your point, like they were just either lazy or, but were just like they wanted to believe? Yeah, I do think so. And did they have a lack of curiosity? And sort of forget that the first rule of covering a White House is every White House lies to different degrees and about different things.
Yeah. Well,
I think they did.
Well, tell me if you think this analogy works. I don't think the Joe Biden situation, cover up, if you want to call it that, or lack of curiosity was any different than Hunter Biden's laptop. It was there. People knew about it. The FBI had it. And they got real uncurious real fast and fought real hard to disprove something that was easily provable. Who's the big guy? Where's the laptop? How do you know this is a fake laptop? Where's the laptop? So they did it volitionally. And it's the same with Joe, and it was the same with COVID. There's no way they could be this irresponsible. They had a mission. They had an agenda. They wanted Joe Biden to get elected. They ignored Hunter Biden's laptop. They never explained why. They just said it was, fake news. And Joe Biden's cognitive cover-up is exactly the same as his son's laptop. They knew it. They chose not to report on it. And they chose not to report on it because they had an agenda and they wanted him in the White House. Is there any other explanation for that?
I think there are some similarities in the media's response to both the Hunter laptop and, Joe Biden's decline. That being said, I think you are, in some ways, I think it's not just you, I think lots of people are giving the media too much credit of being able to actually organize a conspiracy. I do think there are some parallels and similarities, but I don't think
they were organized. I think it was an individual. It was more on an individual basis. I don't think they had a memo going around. I just thought, sort of at the end of the day, people are human beings, and as much as we think you can umpire your kid's little league game and just call balls and strikes, like at the end of the day, when that's your son on the mound, you know what I mean? It's like, and what we're saying to journalists is we're going, look, I don't care if your son is pitching. I don't care if he just got diagnosed with leukemia and you're the only person that knows it. If it's a fucking strike, you call it, and if it's a ball, you call it, and that's your job. And that's kind of that was our agreement. And I think what we're saying is I think it's impossible for the father to do that, essentially. And I think there was so much Trump hatred that they were like, I don't know if I'm telling the truth or not telling the truth. I just feel this way, and it's going to shade how I do my job. I don't know. I don't think there was a meeting. I don't think there was a memo. I don't even know how volitional it was, like how conscious it was. It was more of a reaction than it was an actual statement and a plan.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to say that I never saw signs of exactly what you just described, of where people's partisan leanings and ideological leanings just sort of and for like affect their coverage. But I also just very strongly believe that it was not universal or even the majority of people that I saw covering Joe Biden's White House every single day for 4 years. Even as I felt like I was a little bit on an island of covering him aggressively for 4 years, I think it was a bit more complicated and nuanced than that, because I do think there were a lot of really great, and I know some of the journalists or some of your listeners probably will roll your eyes at this and think I'm just like trying to play it safe, but I'm just telling you, like, I know a lot of the people that I covered Joe Biden with, and a lot of them were really great journalists. And that's why I say, like, some of them missed the story and some of them did not aggressively cover the story and were not honest with themselves about why they weren't.
I would say about the great journalists, I would say, yeah, they could be great journalists and that guy could be a great umpire, but not when his son is pitching and Joe Biden was on the mound. And that's what we suffered from. And the question then is kind of what is the state of journalism and what we call mainstream media now, where you kind of go, I think a lot of the camp of like Barack Obama's, you can't listen to these guys, these podcast guys, or these guys with this misinformation and disinformation. I'm like, well, I'll put Joe Rogan's batting average on COVID up against CNN's or MSNBC's any day. So I don't know what you're talking about exactly, but what does media and like the mainstream have to do to sort of claw back the trust of the populace. And it's not that people don't watch it now, but there's always, I said to somebody, I had a bunch of young guys who used to work here. And a few years ago, I said to them, if I asked you 10 years ago, you saw some story on CNN, what would you say? They'd go, well, that's just the story. And I said, what if you saw it now on CNN? They said, well, I'd have to look into it. I'd want to check, see if there was something else going on or what the motivation was or whatever it was. So I'm not sure what the next decade looks like for mainstream stuff. But if you had a magic wand or could have a symposium and speak like you did at the White House Correspondents Awards, I think it was, if I'm not screwing that name up, what would you say to them? Or what would be the way, if you were the CEO of the mainstream media, to kind of go, here's the plan, here's what we need to do?
Well, I think all the people that used to work for you, I completely understand that, I completely understand. And the mainstream media, I think this last election, to bring it back a little bit to the book, because this last election, the Democratic Party, when every single poll in America showed that over 70% of America of voters didn't think Joe Biden could serve a second term, the Democratic Party was you're wrong. We are now seeing every single poll show that over 70% of Americans, or many of the polls, are saying we don't believe the mainstream media. And it is to our peril as reporters that if you are an earnest reporter that really believes in the importance of reporting, which I still do, and the importance of objective reporting, I also think there's room for left-wing and right-wing and contrarian commentators like yourself and like others. But I still think there is a very special place for objective reporting. But if you're looking at people are not believing us. And I think there should be some self-reflection on why that is. And also some how should we change? And I think some of the ways change, we acknowledge that that we've gotten stuff wrong. Also, listen, I mean, I've been in newsrooms in DC and New York. I don't know if I've ever met anyone in those newsrooms that would openly admit they voted for Trump. And I think that contributes a bit to the trust problem.
Well, I agree. And I think there is there's a little bit of a math problem. That's not really a math problem, but I mean, I used to say to Dr. Drew all the time, if you were saying that this candidate, it doesn't have to be Trump, it can be anyone, is Hitlerian and, racist and misogynist and xenophobic and all that kind of stuff, but also he's basically the second coming of Hitler, well, then you should join the French resistance and battle against Hitler. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone in the French resistance, they lied. They got papers made up. They had uniforms made up. They did what they had to do to try to defeat Hitler. And it was noble, and they're heroes because they were dealing with Hitler. So if you establish your opponent is Hitler, then it kind of makes sense to do whatever you can do, skirt the rules or tell a lie or do whatever you forge the papers or do whatever you can do to defeat it. And if you believe it, you kind of be a fool not to do it. And no one ever accused the French resistance of lying. They were trying to defeat Nazis. I believe, and maybe this will come out, to bite me in the butt one day, but I'm a believer that if you're a journalist, you don't write stories to try to generate a certain outcome. Electorally or politically, you write the stories just this is as close as approximate to the truth as I am able to get in this moment. And if you start thinking about, well, I want to create this outcome, I want this person to win,
then you are like going into sort of dangerous territory of, and I do think some journalists have let that affect them. To your point, if you believe that Trump is Hitler, then I would say, like, join the French Resistance.
Yeah, and it could be anybody. I mean, if you believe Kamala Harris was Hitler, then you'd be a fool not to try to defeat her any way you could. I mean, it's in a weird way. It's when there's an assassination attempt. It's like, well, if that 18-year-old believed that the guy was Hitler, then the guy tried to assassinate Hitler with a bomb in whatever that Tom Valkyrie movie was. Well, that guy was a hero of World War II. Like that's where it gets dangerous, because that's what it leads to. So where do you think the legacy is? I shouldn't say legacy, but people want to talk to Jill Biden. I'll tell you one thing I don't really join in on. Why didn't Jill Biden say something? Okay. That's the same as why didn't the White House? Why weren't they straight up with the news? They're not going to. That's his wife. She's trying to get him reelected. I don't blame her for anything she did. That's human nature. That's what people do. And I don't blame the administration for not being forthcoming. That's what they do. But the question is where do we go from here? Okay, there's the White House doctor. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know that it's his job to not say anything to the media. I don't blame Jill Biden, but there are others where I kind of go, well, there's a fiduciary duty there. Maybe we could have heard. Maybe the American people should have heard from you on this. And so now some of these people are going to be hauled in front of Congress and we're going to have a discussion. But I don't know where you think this may end up.
It's a great question. The thing about DC is that every single staffer and wife and spouse and family member, there's always this tension between the larger mission of whatever that politician stands for, and also your loyalty to that politician. And I think in the case of Joe Biden, and he's not alone in this, they lost sight of the former. And they just saw loyalty to Joe Biden as loyalty to the larger mission, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I think you see that in politics. I also think you see that in business and everything else. And that's why it's what we wanted to do with this book is it's a more universal story. I also say, to your point about the doctor, presidential cover-ups of their health are as old as America. George Washington covered up his health. Grover Cleveland covered up his health. Basically, got a hospital installed on a yacht to remove a tumor in his mouth. Woodrow Wilson is a little bit better known after his stroke. FDR had no business running for re-election in 1944 and was very reckless to do so. JFK lied about having Addison's disease. We still don't know about the full what was happening with Reagan in the last 2 years of his presidency. And part of the point of the book, the journalistic point of the book, is that, listen, this will happen again unless what just happened with Joe Biden will happen again unless there are mechanisms or moves taken to require disclosure of presidential health.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think that is one thing that is going to happen. I also do think these interviews on Congress are going to happen, and we are going to get more evidence. I don't know for sure, but I expect we will get more evidence of or instances of people remembering him having lapses, at the very least. Also, we still don't know, with regards of his like stage 5 cancer diagnosis, prostate cancer diagnosis, either there's one of two possibilities. Either he had symptoms of this cancer while he was president and they didn't catch it, or he had symptoms and they caught it and they didn't disclose it. Well, and that is going to be an interesting conversation too.
I'll tell you the problem sort of globally, which is if, everyone knows people personally, and I think everyone knows a couple of people who bullshit, lie a little bit, stretch the truth. They just know those people. We all know a couple. And the problem, and then we know people who would never even fiddle around with lying or bullshitting or stretching the truth and never even dance near that line. And the problem with once you get labeled as a bullshitter is when you're at a dinner and like you're with the other friends and the phone rings, you go, "Oh, Tim, oh yeah, Tim can't make it. He's got a bad cold." And then, "Okay, we'll see you next time." You hang up. Everyone goes, "Really? You think he's got a cold?" I don't know. No, and the answer is, I always go, look, maybe he has a cold, but he is a bullshitter. So I don't know. But he opened the window to that. Then there are other guys or other people in your life where they call and they go, "I got a cold." And you go, "Oh my God, if you got a cold, you better stay where you are," because that guy would never lie. So the problem with everyone now vis-a-vis the whole Biden thing is you guys are already been labeled as potential liars and or liars. So whatever happens from this point on, whether it's Jill Biden telling her recollections of what went on or any journalist telling their recollection of what's going on, there's always a big question mark when you talk because historically you've bullshitted. And I think that's not a good place to be in as a country, an entity, a news outlet, or an individual. And everyone has to kind of keep that in mind, because I don't know. And I would include Trump in this. I just go, I don't know if he's lying or not. You know what I mean? Because he's been, I wouldn't say that about Robert Kennedy Jr., at all. You can disagree all you want with him, but I would never say, "Oh, he's lying. He's bad. He doesn't know what he's doing." Like, I would say it about Jill Biden. I would definitely say it about Joe Biden. I would say it about Trump. I'd say it about a lot of people. But then there are other, you don't, like, I would never say that about Joe Rogan. I would go, "Well, I disagree," or maybe I don't do that, or I don't think so. But I don't go, "He's lying." At the end of the day, you have something called a reputation, and it's not up to you to decide what that is. Others will decide. And, big picture, if you kids are listening, don't play fast and loose with that.
I completely agree with you. And I especially if you work in anywhere even adjacent to news or information, then trust and reputation is the most important thing that you have. And honestly, it was honestly why, I made those remarks that you referenced earlier at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, is because I was winning an award for coverage of Joe Biden's decline.
Right.
In front of all of my White House colleagues. And was I aggressive, more aggressive than many of my colleagues on that story? Yes, I was. But I was also getting an award for something that I think the public rightly says we fell short on. And to go up there and do a valedictory speech felt odd to me. And I think it's really important. I mean, I was always, and I said a version of this, I always grew up being listen, everyone makes mistakes, and admitting mistakes, actually admitting them and not doing the cheesy thing of well, no one's perfect,
right?
Sort of non-apology, but actually saying yeah, we fell short. That builds trust.
I agree.
It may be uncomfortable for you, but it builds trust. And if you're defensive about it, it makes people doubt you even more.
I agree. And a little mea culpa and a little I screwed this one every once in a while makes people think you're human. I always used to tell everyone when I did Loveline, I would tell women, I'd go, listen, if you fake your orgasms and you always fake your orgasms, eventually you're going to get caught on to. I go, every once in a while, just go, can't get it. And then they'll believe you. For the 1 out of every 10 times, just go, can't do it. Was watching Oprah. She had the lady's monkey ripped her face off, and I just can't go there. And then you'll be believed. If you're 1,000 orgasms for 1,000 orgasms, at a certain point, people may think you're faking it. Alex,
really quick. I know you're about to set me up, but I'm from the Valley, and so I listen to K-Rock 106.7.
Oh wow!
Listen to like Loveline, growing up. So I definitely heard a few of those conversations. So I appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Alex. And whenever you come out with your next book, or you're in town, or what have you, come on by, chat it up.
I'd love that.
Original Sin is the name of the book. It is out as we speak. You guys know that. Alex Thompson. Thanks for the conversation, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right. Me, dates, Irvine, Improv. Jay Moore's going to join me up on stage. That'll be July 10th coming up. Live podcast there. Then the 11th and 12th, Covina Laugh Factory. And then also Zanies, Rosemont, Illinois. Second show added. What? Did not know that. Second show added. That's enough. All right, anyway. And then Plymouth. I'll be doing Plymouth, Wisconsin. Road America. Going to race a car. Come on out to Tough Center. Go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows. Until next time, this is Adam for Alex and Ralph and Dawson saying mahalo.